So I wanted to elaborate a little more on the short that I did last week around asking for help. And I want to offer ways to kind of really help start working on healing this part of you so you can start to be more confident and feel okay with needing to ask for help and that there's nothing wrong with needing help. So, welcome back to my channel, Be the Light in Their Storm, where I'm really here to help guide and support parents through healing themselves while also trying to parent children that are still living in this toxic environment that you were subjected to, and how to manage not only your own emotions but also those of your children, and to try and see things from a different light and perspective to be able to better relate to them going through what they're going through. So if definitely subscribe and like my videos so I can keep these coming for you. But asking for help is something that I feel a lot of people struggle with. It can make that person feel like they're showing a sign of weakness. You have to be extremely vulnerable depending on the extent of the help, but you're having to put yourself out there and rely on somebody else to offer you the support that you're not able to provide for yourself at that time. And that's a very tricky place to be in regardless. But it's also a trigger. It's a something from your past that has made you create this mindset around certain feelings and emotions that come up when needing to ask for help becomes something that is part of your life. So I mentioned in the short that, this can be related to asking for help in the past and being ignored or being denied that help for whatever reason. You could just be completely dismissed, and the person says, they're going to help you, and then they just don't, or they just lead you on and don't ever offer you what they say they're going to do. And lastly, you can be made, especially if it's a caregiver that is not providing you with the support that you're looking for when you ask for help. But if you're made to feel guilty or shameful for needing that help and not being able to figure it out on your own, these are all things that are going to stick with you. And every time you feel you need to ask for help, whether it's something as simple as taking the trash out to, needing a loan because you don't have enough money in the bank to cover your bills, whatever the case may be, that knowing that you need to put yourself out there and ask somebody else to support you and be there for you for this time can stir up a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress in your body. It can trigger PTSD symptoms depending on the severity of it. And there's a lot of things that can run through someone's mind when the idea of needing to ask for help comes up. And most of the people that struggle with asking for help have been people that needed to figure things out on their own for probably most of their life. They were told to figure it out on their own. They didn't have anyone there to ask for help, or they just gave up asking and they just learned to do it themselves because it was easier and it was less stressful and it was just easier for their bodies to manage it and try and figure out on their own versus having to go through the emotional roller coaster and the thoughts that would come up having to reach out and ask. So if any of this resonates with you, then you really have to be open and ready and willing to start to make the changes in healing this. And depending on the extent of the thought patterns or the trauma that's related to the fear of asking for help, it may be harder for some people to work through these emotions. So you have to be ready and willing and wanting to give yourself this self-love in order to heal this part of you. So a lot of the feelings or emotions are going to reside in your heart center. This is where you're going to have guilt or shame. You're going to have, your anxiety may come up, and you're going to feel that in your chest, tightness. It can, just feeling of helplessness or feeling alone. All these range of feelings and emotions can come up just off of needing to ask for help. So you want to be able to start to look inward, first of all. You have to really kind of dig around inside and try to find what the root cause is of this fear of asking for help. Was it something from your childhood? Was it something over the course of your life that was just a continuing pattern? Was it a specific moment where someone denied you help that you desperately needed and it just stuck with you? But that's where you have to start. And to kind of help get to places like this, if you can't just kind of tap into it, you can find a quiet place. You can take a few deep breaths and help kind of just center yourself and quiet your mind. And then just ask yourself, whether you say it out loud or whether you say it in your head, just ask yourself, why is it so hard for me to ask for help? And just sit with it and see what comes up. Don't question the thoughts that come into your head. Don't question or doubt anything that surfaces. Just let it come up, and you can write it down if it's, thoughts or a memory. And if it's emotions, feel them. Kind of see if you can recognize what emotions you're feeling or what feelings you're feeling, and just kind of allow all of this to come up so you can then have it in front of you and you can dissect it if you need to. It may be something that comes up and you cry for 5 minutes, and then when you're all done you feel better and you were able to process out some of those emotions that were sitting there. And that's good. It's going to help get you on that path of healing it. But for some, it may be a little more involved. It may be a mixture of emotions or feelings. It may be body sensations that come up. And you need to allow yourself to work through all of these parts. And you can do this through journaling. You can do this with a coach or therapist. You can write it all out and then ask yourself the next step. If you, let's say, have feelings of shame come up around it, see if there's a specific memory that comes up along with it and write out that memory. And then the more you're able to shine light on these areas and these emotions and sensations, the more your body is able to start to process what's been sitting and release it. And so you're not carrying that with you. And the more you're able to release those emotions and feelings and energies, then the more you're able to start approaching the situation of needing to ask for help from a more conscious place versus a subconscious memory or pattern or belief that you keep going back to every time you need to ask for help. So the next step is going to be to start implementing changes and pushing yourself out of your comfort zone when you need to ask for help. And for some, it may be something really small. It could be, as simple as needing to ask for help around the house with the house chores and being able to ask for it and have it be received and actually followed through. So, and then for some, it could be, only on the grander side of things that they have struggle asking for help. But for most of us, I think it's all of it. It's as simple as taking out a bag of trash and having to ask someone else to do it, to needing, a loan or help because your car broke down and you don't have any money to get it anywhere. So you want to start slow. Start with small asks. And be okay with however the other person may react. Know in your heart that the person's reaction or answer to your request for help really has nothing to do with you and your ask for help. It really has everything to do with their own internal triggers and emotions and responses that come up when, they are being asked for help. And you don't know what their past is, so you don't know what kind of triggers or past traumas they may have around that topic. So you don't want to take their responses personal. While it may hurt and it may sting if it's not what you wanted to hear, know that you are able to support yourself and that you are able to be there for yourself even if they are not willing to. And if it means having to go to somebody else to ask for that same help or doing it on your own this time, then just kind of allow yourself to be in that moment and not relate back to everything else in the past and say, well, here we go again, and just give up. You have to, as you start to get more confident in being able to ask for help from other people and knowing that regardless of their answer, you are still going to feel the same as you did going up and asking them for that, and you know that you've got your own support, then the vibrations that you're putting out to the person that you're asking for help for are going to be higher, and they're going to pick up on that, and someone else is going to be more receptive to you because they're going to be able to match your vibrations. And if you walk up to somebody that's not able to match, or higher than where you're vibrating, and they're not willing to help you, sorry, vibrating, that just sounded really weird, then they're not going to be able to help you because they're not able to match what it is you need. And that's because of their own internal healing that they need to do. And it has nothing to do with you. It just means you need to find that person that's actually going to be able to give you what it is you need. And that may take time. The other thing you can do is to get yourself a support person. Having somebody that you can turn to and kind of relay where you're at and what you're getting ready to do, and knowing that you have that extra person in your corner can never hurt you, because you already know that you have somebody supporting you. They may not be able to give you the help that you need, but they can still be there to support you in what it is you're going through, and knowing that you asking this other person for help is hard for you, and that you are pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. And they can be there as that support, which everybody needs support. We're not meant to live on this earth alone and to go through things alone. We're meant to have support, and we're meant to have help. So allow that person that wants to be there for you to be there for you. The next thing is you need to trust yourself. You need to trust that what you're asking for is not completely out of left field. It's not unheard of. People ask for help every day, and people get that help. And it's just a matter of knowing that what you're doing and what you're asking for is not unreasonable. Where in the past people may have made you feel like your ask for help was completely unnecessary or unreasonable or just not something they wanted to deal with, that is something that is on them. And that's part of the healing you have to do, is to release and let go of those feelings and thought patterns you've been carrying that someone else dumped on you, because they're not yours to carry. And the more you're able to let those go and trust that what you're asking for is 100% okay, and that you are worthy of it, and that you are deserving of it, then you're going to have much more confidence in asking for it. And that's going to come through in your vibrations, and that's what the other person's going to pick up on. And that's what you want. You want to start to get to those places to where you are confident in asking for that help, and whatever response you get back, and your day will go on and your life will go on, and whatever emotions transpired or came up, you can release and let go, and you don't continue to carry that with you. Then asking for help will eventually become easier. And I'm not going to say you may not have times where you struggle with it and you're, become deathly afraid to ask for it again. And if that happens, it's okay. Part of healing is you cycle through things, and it's not just a straight line. So you may have certain moments where you get really comfortable with asking for help and standing behind what you're asking. And then you may still have moments where you really struggle with it. And if you reach that point where you're struggling, just take those deep breaths and kind of find your center. Ask yourself again why these are coming up, and see if there's anything new. Maybe there's still some unresolved emotions and feelings or energies from the first time you worked through this that are now ready to come up and be released. So just, you need to be patient with yourself, give yourself grace, and take it slow so you can work on healing what's inside that needs to be released. And you can also start to build your confidence on the outer world. And eventually your two worlds will balance on that topic, and you'll be able to move forward and up and never look back.